Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker. And today we are going to be discussing Taming the Stash 2025. So my reorg is as done as it can be. When we get to this, you will kind of understand a little bit more. So I went through all of my white Drona bins that were unmarked, and if they're still on the wall, they are clearly labeled with what is inside of them. But as part of the exercise of going through these things, I did find some rather interesting stuff. Not only did I find some ancient stash that I had just totally forgotten about, I found some orphans. So these are not ever going to be finished. These are projects that will never, ever see the light of day again. Some of these will be frogged. Some of these will be kept for posterity's sake. But I did want to share with you guys what I found in digging through my stash. So these projects are older than 8 years old. Some of them probably closer to 14 years old. So let's start with the one that I know for a fact is more than likely the oldest. This is the Dark Isle sock. So the pattern of this is Dark Isle, A-I-S-L-E, as in Fair Isle. And this was my first experience with second sock syndrome. This was quite the undertaking in knitting this sock, and I would totally do this pattern again, but I realize this is still in the zone where I didn't understand yarn weight. So this is done in a DK weight yarn for some reason. So I did find the rest of this yarn, but I will not be making this sock, but I will be keeping the sock and finding a better foot model to put it on and just displaying it here in the room because it is absolutely gorgeous. You can tell it was either an afterthought or a peasant heel. And at the time, like, I really didn't know what I was doing at the ankle join there. The slip stitch heel gives me a much better fit anyway. But yeah, so that was project number one here that is 100% an orphan. Project number two, I'm going to share with you the one that I have no idea what it was. I already had started frogging this because I knew it just wasn't going to be a finished project. And I happened to find the rest of the yarn separately. So this is Peyton's SWS something. It is a soy wool blend. If you check back in with me later, we'll actually talk about this era of my crafting life when this yarn was made. But we had a period of time about the time I started knitting 20 years ago, 18 years ago. We had some really interesting biosynthetic yarns. And soy was one of the big fibers at the time. The only one that really seems to have stuck around in garments, home decor yarn has been bamboo. But when you come back to watch my rayons video in understanding yarn fibers, I have a whole story to tell about this era of fibery goodness. But this is the Fetching fingerless glove. This does not fit very well. It's way tighter than all of my other ones, but this yarn is clearly bulkier than what I made my previous ones with. So I don't know what had happened, but I will continue frogging the other mitt. And the ends are woven in on this, so I will probably just toss this. If it's feltable, maybe I will roll it up and turn it into the center of a dryer ball or something like that. But this is just not a project I'm going to be able to keep, maintain, or hold on to. There's no reason to display it. It's not special, so it's not worth me holding on to. Next up, where's the fourth one here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure when I cast on that fetching glove, I had a period of time where I was knitting like a whole bunch of them and gifting them. So that's a pattern from nitty.com. These two, this one I know for sure what the pattern is. This was the Harriet Hap shawl, and it's from one of the Interweave Knits Jane Austen pattern books, pattern magazines. I completed the entire center and I have about an inch. You can see where I picked up around the center there, an inch done. I never put in lifeline, so there is no saving this. I remember making, like, not being able to frog this, and my daughter-in-law at the time was like threatening to come break into my house and frog this because I just couldn't bring myself to frog it. The needle has deteriorated sitting in here, but it doesn't seem to have impacted the yarn. So I'm probably actually going to cut the cable and get rid of the needle. It's one of the styles of needles that looks very similar to the Addy needles, but the join is not an Addy join. So I don't know what this needle is. There is no marking on the needle itself, nor in the first couple inches of the cable. So I have no idea what this needle is. It's a gold needle. So if one of y'all happen to notice what it is, it's probably going to take me a week or two before I frog this. But yeah, so that was actually, you know, heavily into it before I realized there was a problem. I don't remember if I had lost my place in the pattern or if I had messed up the pattern at some point. This is using Leisure Time yarn, which is 100% wool. I know nothing about this yarn company. This is something that I'm either picked up off of eBay when I first started knitting or was gifted to me as part of a swap. So I will have to do some research about this yarn. It feels like Merino. It's incredibly smooth and soft and has a lot of bounce to it. It does appear to be fingering weight. So it's something, you know, I easily can make shawls with. I've got 4 balls plus a half ball in the bag. And there's at least 3 balls. So it might be 4 in the, or 3.5 in the shawl itself, which means I would have 8 50-gram balls of this yarn. So that would be a goodly amount to be able to make something else with once I get this frogged and re-relax the yarn and everything. So anyway, that one is 4, 8, 9. We'll say it's 10 to 12 years old. The next one, I also believe, is from one of the Jane Austen books. I have no idea what I was thinking when I made this. I don't know why I thought I needed Angora fingerless gloves. But once again, we're clearly in a position where my stitches look phenomenal. I mean, look at how even those are. But clearly we're in a point of my knitting journey where I didn't understand fiber size and content yet, because if I block out this lace pattern to fit my forearm, the hand is going to be ginormous. So it's very loose on my hand as is. Also, I don't think the eyelets along the thumb hole were intentional. Maybe they were, I don't know. And you can clearly see where this was supposed to be buttoned up here. So very interesting. This is a Louisa Harding yarn. And once again, I have plenty of it. This will probably either be felted or frogged, added to the center of a yarn ball, unfortunately. I'm not going to put buttons on it so I can display it like the Dark Isle sock. If I can frog it, I will try to frog it, but I don't think that's going to frog very well. So these are 25-gram balls, 125 yards, and these are 70% Angora, 25% wool, and 5% nylon. So very exciting yarn. It's something very different. I love Angora. I used to have an Angora sweater that I wore all the time. So definitely could add this to something else. I think this is Louisa Harding Kimono, but I'm not quite sure. I can't quite see the name of the yarn. I've got a couple ball bands down here as well. So I'm going to try to, oh, there it is. Kimono Angora. So it's another Tuesday morning yarn. Yeah, I don't have any stats. There's no information in these bags. They've been stored just like this, hidden in my stash for, like I said, up to 14 years now. So the oldest I know is the Dark Isle. because that was 2 houses before I started making YouTube videos. So I know that's the oldest. The Hap shawl, I'm 100% positive was the house before I started making YouTube videos. The mitt, if it's one of the Jane Austen patterns, was at the same house. The fetching, when we were moving from the Dark Isle house to the Harriet Hapshaw house, that in between, that's when I was making all these fetching mitts. So that could have been, 5 houses ago or 4 houses ago. I'm not sure. But yeah, so most of these were cast on and at least 50% finished before my second oldest grandchild was born. That's how long it's been. So anyway, let's get on with what the reorg looks like. I did think that was interesting. When I said I was reorging, I really did mean I was going deep into the stash, really pulling everything out to make it visible. But we do have some problems now that I have created for myself visually. I had gotten to a really good space visually at the end of 2024. Definitely go check out the year-end wrap-up for Taming the Stash for 2024. But now I am in a very unfortunate position of a different type of visual clutter, and visual clutter for a very different reason. So it's a good thing Deep Stash was on my agenda for this year, because that's one of the big issues. But let's get on to actually looking at the yarn wall and talking about what I did. So I'll be right back. Okay, hopefully my mic will pick this up, because for some reason, in picking up my camera and rotating it, we have chipmunk sounds. I'll insert a clip at the end of this. But this cabinet, no change from 2024 into 2024. Everything's just the same. Poke our head in the closet here. Proof. All the shelves are now empty where I had all the small kits. But you can kind of see where the visual clutter issues are here. Both cats have decided they're a part of this moment. Orange cat behavior. So, starting with the first cake wall here, we have a lot of changes that occurred from the beginning of 2024 and even since the end of 2024. I did find some 9-inch polyacrylic shelf dividers that I was able to use, and they'll fit on other shelves as things get used. But I've got all of my finer cotton and cotton blend type cakes up here. We start with the DK, kind of working our way down. And then we move into worsted weight. So I do have my Hirschner's cakes. Those are some Premier spun colors. These are the last of my candy shops that are in here. We have sweet rolls and the Karen cakes. All of that got moved over from the other bookcase. These are Halloween and Christmas sock yarns that I want to use this year, or pull from this year. I don't anticipate using them all. Here, once again, we do have some changes. Obviously, I no longer have 1.5 empty shelves here. So we have larger cotton yarns or cotton blends, kind of bamboos over here. We have some of my fingering weight kits, DK weight kits. This row is kind of the same. It's still the skinny cakes primarily. We do have some of the larger Karen cakes back here. I think these are the ones that are 100% polyester. And all of the bulky cakes are kind of shoved back there at the back. And these are some bulky weight kits. So we overall, it's 100% full again, but everything is kind of in a very specific group now. There's no jumping back and forth, some cakes here, some cakes there that really do belong together. For the fingering weight, we have, no changes in these top 4 here. I would still like to come up with a better way to do my sock sets. I have my minis on the back of my door. So maybe in the other case, I'll put the sock sets, and that way we're not blocking and doubling up here. These just need to get used this year. These are to be used this year. These are some of the self-striping sock yarns I went ahead and pulled out to be used specifically for my goal of 12 sets of self-striping yarns. This is still self-striping yarns. This is now acrylic sock yarn. It's not something I'm planning on really pulling from this year, but I thought it made more sense to store that down here. This is still all stroll, and I did find some in my deep stash here. We have a couple more stroll and stroll-like type solids here. But then we start getting into this and this that are just visual disasters. So in going through my deep stash and going through, we have the problem of how I used to store things and how I store things now. So like this is, where's my hand? This is Malbrigo sock yarn. This is a kit, so I'm not worried about this. This is Malbrigo sock yarn. You can see it's already caked up. Back in the day, I used a file cabinet to store all my yarn. So caking it was the best way for me to store it and keep it safe. Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. I fortunately have a yarn room instead of just a cabinet in our office. So this is why this has gotten hidden from me. So there's all kinds of different things that are just in sandwich bags and plastic bags, and I need to make this better. I've got to find a way to make this better for myself. These are Zen Garden yarns that were purchased as part of their going out of business sale, or some of the ones that I had previously purchased. These are all sock blanks. And again, these are irregularly shaped yarns or stored yarns. Like I've got 4 cakes of this Melody from Jojo Land. As I'm knocking stuff off, that's my fear, is all year I'm going to be knocking things off. I have these partials from things that I think they were part of a review series that I had done. So we're still going to have some issues there. No real changes here. This is still my Fiber Studio Charlotte yarn and Lolo Did It. This was empty until yesterday, and I decided to put my little skeins up here until I find the perfect project for those. We just talked about the kimono yarn and the books my stepson got me for Christmas. It was empty, so I used it as a place to stick that. So we do still have 2 empty cubes. One I'm using for decor and set dressing, and this one here. Now we're moving into DK Sport. These, I think, are all, these are all multiples. Some are all caked, some are not caked. Like the rest of this is not caked. We need to fix this. This is part of what needs to be fixed this year. Then we have things that are caked. This is what the Dark Isle socks were made out of. We have, like, this is a really nice yarn I was gifted many, many moons ago. Then, once again, we just have things double stacked back there. It's a mess. It is a visual mess. And it's kind of, these are primarily natural fibers, predominantly wools. Same thing with the balls here. Now, at least with the balls, I feel like I can kind of see what's back there. Like I have 2 of these, one of these, one of these. It's just a mess. No real change. No real change. No changes for this one. This is all DK Sport Weight acrylics. These I brought down from the top shelf, which I didn't talk about. All of these are not things I'm planning on really using this year, but it's palette yarn, thread and lace, novelty specialty, boa, faux fur, and ruffle scarf yarn. Ruffle scarf yarn is starting to become a thing again, so keep an eye out. That I think potato chip scarves will be coming back, but I moved the Luna and the loops and thread version of that down here. So those are here. These are kind of just all packaged. This is a Stylecraft kit that I pulled together. No real change here from the end of 2024. I did find these 3 gradient grays that I want to work together. This is another zone where we got a problem. All of my hanks of DK and Sport Weight hand dyeds are back there, but I can't see it because I've had to double stack again. And I'm not sure how I'm going to fix that other than just using it. This is a leftover from a pair of socks. This is the same type of sock yarn here, I believe. This one's not bad. This one doesn't bother me every time I look at it. So these are Eat Sleep Knit kits, and I think that's another DK Sport kit from Craftsy/Blueprint back in the day. These are some acrylics. Some are old, caked in plastic bags from the ancient, long time agos. I did add some kits in here as well, and then also some packaged yarn in their shipping package that I was gifted a while back. It's been a while. Now we're moving into worsted weight. No real change here. These are wools, wool blends, alpaca and wool blends. I do have a couple of things stuck in here with the rovings that are not roving, but I just don't have space nearby to put those. Like this is a Woolies. So it's, near adjacent to the natural fibers, but not with the natural fibers. This is a sparkle yarn that actually eventually needs to go over here, but I put it in the adjacent cube. We have worsted weight kits. No real change in the Super Saver. No real change for the Brava. No real change in the Vannas from the end of 2024 or the Shawl in a Ball. Same thing with this group. It's more or less the same as it was at the end of 2024. Heartland, basics, it's all the same. This cube, again, we're into deep stash section here. I did take all of the Malbrigo worsted, and they're now in 2 bags here. And then these are Debbie Stoller Stitch Nations. I would definitely like to use these this year. If I don't use them in a project, I may use it to make some more dryer balls or something. No real change. This is still primarily puzzle and Barcelona yarn. This is primarily scarfy yarn. We have my set dressing cube here. I did not know I had this many Karen Pantones left, but these are all Karen Pantones. Primarily darn good yarns. My bulky hand dyed, which are primarily Southern Skeins. This is all wool or wool blends. This is a wool blend. This is an acrylic. I want to find a sweater pattern to use this Vanna's colors, and that will probably use up the bulk of what I have left there. And then that is my bulky weight acrylics. So I've got one of the things I need to work on. So I've got all the kits out. I've emptied all of the Drona bins that I had. I'm down to the 6 Drona bins. So nothing is really properly hidden from my vision anymore. But now I've created visual noise in the cluttered look. So I can't bag these like I did the kits or like I did like the Malbrigos. So I'm going to have to use them, rehank them. I'm going to have to do something to make them not drive me crazy looking at those cubes. At least in the cube wall, I can kind of isolate my vision and not pay attention to those areas. But the double layer in this DK cube really annoys me. The way this and this looks in this like L shape here really annoys me. So getting those under control are going to be kind of one of my big focuses for this year as far as taming the stash. So as I'm pulling from deep stash and stuff like that, those are going to be the projects that I'm looking to those areas of my stash first to reduce. But overall, I mean, really, I've made so much progress since we moved here in getting this under control. And I know 2025, we're off to a very good start. So here's our starting place for taming the stash. It's definitely going to be a year. I don't know that we're going to have the massive visual alterations we had in 2024, but we can hope. We can definitely hope. I would like to use a lot of the worsted weight acrylic to make hats and scarves, get those donated. Once again, the goal of 50 hat and scarf sets to donate by the end of the year. From up here, we should have a lot of change because I will be using that, that, and that to join blankets together. So we should have like a lot of difference up here at the top of the big yarn wall by the end of the year. And we should start having space once again. I'm just hoping we have a better way of handling some of this deep stash that I found. As far as the two bookcases go, I think they look visually appealing enough to where I will want to pull. And like I said, as part of the year of the make-alongs, you know, cotton is something that I know just multiplies in my stash. Like, I'm not sure where this Hobie cotton came from. I know I did not buy it. So now I have my kits out. I can at least see those. I know what's going on with those. And we can definitely have a nice working, you know, jumping off place for this. I do want to take you across the hall real quick and show you what I have set up to use with the Addy. It's only the 2.5 bins. This one is what I'm working from for scraps. So this is for hats and scarves. Let me get you some light there. This is for hats and scarves. These are primarily for shawls. And then that's what's left of the neutral bin. So, you know, not a whole lot is over here really compared to how we've started off the last 2 years in the Addy goals, but I did pull some stuff to the side to prepare for making some stuff. Actually, I got this reversed. That's shawls and that's hats and scarves. So that should actually go fairly quickly. As we saw in the 30-day challenge, I did manage to use quite a bit very quickly. So if I can get everything set up and start the 5 hats and scarves a month thing, we should definitely see that progress and dwindle down quickly, which means I'll come over here and bring more yarn. And for the month of the project we've been sitting on, I will be using some of that Heartland. I'm also wanting to use the Purple Peyton's Venus there to make a sweater this summer. So I have plans. I can see things to make plans with. We just now need to get back to visual, aesthetically pleasing, organized stash. So I knew this would be a problem starting off the year. I knew when I started emptying those bins, I knew that we were going to have this problem, and I knew before, which is why I dreaded doing it. I did not expect to find all those orphans. I did find things that I thought I'd either gifted, donated, sold, or used over the years. So there were some definite surprises in going through those. I also think my movers, when we moved back to Columbia, used the Drona bins to store other stuff from the craft room, which is why we ended up with like the orphans and stuff in those bins. So welcome to Taming the Stash 2025, you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful, fantastic day. As always, I love you and I look forward to seeing you guys real soon.